but I've postponed this long enough, I guess, so I might as well kick it off and get this going. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Randy Goff. I'm the president of Muscle Power, and it's one of the responsibilities of the president every year, as outlined in our bylaws, to have an annual meeting and to give this annual report, which I'm getting ready to give now. Is it on? No, I don't think it's on. I don't know. I jiggled the wire somewhere and we're done.
Testing. There we go.
Hey. All right, so now I know what the problem's at.
Looks like it's right here.
I don't know if you. It's probably not going to work now, so I'm not going to worry about it. Can you guys in the back hear me? Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. All right. So we'll just go without the mic. Anyway, obviously everybody recognizes the logo, but that's a little. The 20-year anniversary is kind of a big deal for us. Muscle Power was established in 1998. Unfortunately, Anne McQuarrie is not here for me to recognize her. She's in Australia right now. But Anne McQuarrie was our first president, and she started the organization in 1998. And it's grown from just a small handful of some pissed off people because NDOT wanted to get rid of a bike path in the highway plan, and it's grown into what you're seeing here right now. So it's pretty amazing. We branched out. We've gone into trails, which has been a huge asset for the organization. We've got people involved in the community. Anne's husband, Chaz McQuarrie. He's our vice president, our current vice president. He's actually retiring, stepping down from that, effective today, which we'll cover that later. But Chaz will continue on as a technical advisor to the Muscle Power Board of Directors, and he sits on Carson City's Regional Transportation Commission, as well as the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. So we've got a voice in that organization because they are the body that kind of directs and makes suggestions to Public Works and to the Board of Supervisors and so forth regarding transportation issues and road issues and so forth. So Chaz is on that. Another one of our board members, Donna Emberson, sits on the Open Space Advisory Committee, who basically performs those same type of actions, but with regards to our Parks, Rec, and Open Space division for the city. So we're heavily involved. Muscle Power is heavily involved in pretty much all aspects of what we do. The trails, the biking, the cycling, the hiking, all of that. And it's good that we've got a voice in both the local city government as well as state government as well. The Nevada Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board to the governor. We also have a voice on that body as well. So that's more of a policy type-driven organization. They address policy issues at the state level. So we're heavily involved in pretty much all aspects, which is kind of what I tried to represent here in this slide. So the Nevada Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board in the city, we've got a very strong partnership with the Culture and Tourism Authority, formerly known as the Visitors Bureau. They changed their name recently, now they're the CTA. We've got, like I mentioned, good partnership with Public Works, really good strong public relationship with Parks, Rec, and Open Space, as well as some really good partnerships with the Sheriff's Office. There's a deputy who serves as the liaison for bicycle and pedestrian safety issues. They come and we all are on the Carson City Bike Ped Advisory Committee group, which Carissa runs, and I'm going to introduce you to her in a few minutes. So it's not just a bunch of crazy people out riding mountain bikes or out walking around in the woods. We're involved in the community, and it's really important that we have a voice, that we have influence. When I was preparing this, I got to thinking, well, what if there was no muscle power, right? Would there, would we have some of the things we have right now? I mean, we definitely wouldn't have the multi-use bike path, the freeway multi-use bike path, because that was the reason Muscle Power was formed. NDOT was trying to get rid of it out of the design. And Muscle Power would organize a bunch of people and basically turned on the screws on NDOT and said, look, you guys, this was in your plan, put it back, and now all of a sudden it disappeared from the plan as they got closer to, as the design, went along. And so they did. They put it back. They put the multi-use path back into the plan, and that's what we have now, along by Home Depot and Walmart, along the north end of town. Runs all the way from like the Dolphin Bay Apartments, comes down by the Walmart, all the way to the Boys and Girls Club, and now just last year they added an extension to it, goes down and connects to the linear ditch trail. So it's another multi-use path, which, by the way, there are future plans to extend it even further south towards the Spooner Junction. So there's a lot of things going on in the city that are really exciting when it comes to biped interests. And one of the things that Muscle Power has really strived and really focused on is our partnerships with the city. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road, both literally and figuratively. But our partnerships with the city are a big deal. I mean, we work very closely with, as I mentioned, Public Works. This year, Carissa Moffitt was hired on as our new bike ped coordinator. We work very closely with Parks and Rec. Greg Bergeron, who's here, is trail coordinator with Parks Rec and Open Space. As a matter of fact, I'd like to introduce you to both of these individuals because they're kind of our direct liaisons. They're the people who we work with on a daily basis when it comes to trails, when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian safety issues and so forth. First, I want to bring up Greg Bergeron. He's our trail coordinator with Parks Rec and Open Space. Greg, you want to come up?
Thank you, Randy. And I apologize. I don't have any prepared notes because
I totally blindsided him. I'm sorry. He showed up and I'm like, will you talk?
I can talk trails. So, but yeah, we do have a special relationship with Muscle Powered, and I wanted to mention that Carson City. What we have special going on in Carson City. In 1996, the citizens of Carson City passed Question 18, which was a bond, or not a bond issue. It placed a tax, a 1/4 cent sales tax on sales tax to provide money to purchase open space and to provide money for parks and recreation. But since that time, we have acquired I'll mention that Juan Guzman, back there, started purchasing property and quite a few acres. And I'm told that he was purchasing property when the Board of Supervisors told him not to. And Ann Bollinger has followed in his footsteps. And just this past summer, we acquired 260 acres. The Ham property up on the west side, which has a number of trails on it already, and we just acquired 20 acres near Clear Creek a couple of weeks ago. So right now, Carson City has just less than 7,000 acres of open space, and it's unique because we're the only county in Nevada that has that. And my younger son just started school in Corvallis, Oregon, and Corvallis is a very progressive community, and a lot of people there ride bikes, and you think of that as being the place to be for outdoor recreation. But he said to me recently, Dad, they don't have open space here. They don't have trails everywhere like we have in Carson City. People come to Carson City for our trails, and I hear all the time from people in other communities throughout Nevada that Carson City is really special. People move here for what we got going on. And so, and we have, our Parks Department we do have a good working relationship with Muscle Power. We have a lot going on. We have Chelsea, who's here, is our volunteer coordinator for parks, and she's setting up the Adopt a Trail program. And lots and lots of cleanups. I mean, since Chelsea has been here, she has helped Donna, who leads the trash box. She's helped her pick up hundreds and hundreds of pounds of garbage. So the city is cleaner because of that. So anyway, with regard to trails,
If you just keep going, you're going to cover everything in the end.
I'll stop real soon, but I did want to mention, I want to mention that when I start, with my current boss, when I start laying out trails or proposing a trail or something, she's always kind of, I wonder, okay, tell me something more about it. But if I say that it has Jeff Potter's blessing, then it's good to go. So anyway, I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for Muscle Powered, and we thank you guys because you are literally the muscle behind what we produce, and both for economics and for recreation, it's great. So anyway, thank you guys so much.
I think Greg and Jeff Potter have a very special relationship. I think the two of them. No, seriously though, the two of them do work very closely, and they work very well together. And it's just it's really cool to see that relationship that we have with the city. I don't think a lot of other organizations, a lot of other cities enjoy that type of relationship, that we work so well. I mean, it's, when Ann Bollinger and Greg and Jeff and Juan and the Muscle Power people all get together, it's just like, everybody is on the same team. There's no adversarial, there's no conflict. It's everybody wants the same thing. And it's just, how are we going to make this happen? And it's just, it's great to see those wheels turn, those gears start turning, because it's a very well-oiled machine, and we all get to benefit from it. So I'm really happy that we have that relationship. And speaking of having a good relationship with the city, I also want to introduce you to our Carson City's new bike ped coordinator, Carissa Moffitt. Carissa comes from, and you can do it Carissa actually has a pretty impressive resume. She had, and she's going to kill me for talking about her like this, but she has her master's degree in urban planning from Florida State University, where while she was getting her master's degree, she was also managing the bike share program at FSU. She has experience in New York City with youth cycling education programs. She basically started the Safe Routes to School program in Northeast Florida and got that off the ground and got that running. So when Courtney Bloomer left Public Works and we had that vacancy, I don't know how Lucia Maloney is our transportation manager at Public Works. I'm not quite sure how Lucia found Carissa, but I'm really glad she did. I'm looking forward to some really great things coming out of Public Works from our bike ped office and the transportation. So, Carissa.
Thanks for saying all that. Brittany has made me feel like this has been home since I've gotten here. It was quite a journey getting here too. Not my favorite mode, taking a car out here, but one day maybe I'll make it cross country on a bike. Well, I'm not here in my official capacity. I do support your mission, and I welcome you guys to come into my office at any time. Come down, sit with me, talk with me, let me know your concerns or solutions, or let us know what we're doing right. You guys have the fun job in this city, and every city needs a voice, and you are it. So thank you for all of that. I'm just going to make it short and sweet, and I'm going to end with this, but please come talk to me afterwards. I see some new faces, some old faces too, so I'd love to meet each and every one of you. So with that being said, when I say ride, you say bikes. We good? Ride! Bikes! Ride! Bikes! Ride! Bikes! Ride bikes!
Really excited about having her on board with the city. That's awesome. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next slide here, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that Muscle Power does. Well, You saw the logo there, the 3 circles, hike, bike, or I'm sorry, walk, bike, and build. Those are really like our 3 main focus areas, right? And so I picked out just a few pictures. Larry Marino, thank you, Larry, for being such a great photographer. When I started sending out emails saying, "Hey, I'm preparing the annual report, and I'm gonna need some pictures," I know Larry's got a camera, and then the next thing you know, I get a folder full of like hundreds of pictures from all these hikes. So these are just, like I said, just a few of the pictures, and it's incredible what our hiking group has done. First of all, let me just address some of the administrative things that they do, which is pretty impressive. They have a training program for all of the hike leaders, and they've gone out and they've looked at other organizations, what they do, what's the best practice, what's good for us, and what fits with Muscle Powered. They've looked at organizations like the Sierra Club and what their hike leaders do, and what kind of training they go through, and so they've kind of modeled the training, the hike leader training program for Muscle Powered after they kind of pick the best pieces of other organizations and put that together. So when you want to hike with us, it's not just like some people who like slap something together. These guys plan these things months in advance. The hikes, the routes that you're going to take, where you're going to go, when you're going to meet there, what the backup plan is. It's just impressive what these guys do in their meetings and when they're planning this, and then when they're executing, it's just flawless. It's just flawless. And then so we get to go on hikes like these, where you see Snow Valley Peak up there, and you're looking down at Marlette Lake, or I think that's Skunk Harbor there in the middle, or you're right down there on Lake Tahoe. It's just beautiful. Of course, there's Joe Foster, Larry's wife, hugging the tree. Yes. Another picture going up Snow Valley Peak. I believe that's Spooner there in the middle, and going up Snow Valley Peak up there. It's just incredible. The views here are amazing, and it's really nice that hikers, that we're able to get out and go to all these places. I mean, it's really cool. So they go through the hike leaders. They go through first aid, CPR training. They learn all the routes ahead of time. The hike leaders, when they go on these hikes, they know exactly where they're going. It's not like you don't have to worry about getting lost because they've been there. They've gone through all the trainings. It's just really neat. So Muscle Power does 4 regular hikes every week. So every week throughout the year, there's 4 hikes. There's like a Tuesday morning, a Tuesday afternoon, I think a Thursday and a Friday morning, right? So there's hikes going on all week long. They're all out on our calendar, so you can see where they are, where they're going, where to meet at if you need to. If they meet up at a certain place, where you're going to meet. It's all on the calendar. But and then besides those 4 weekly hikes, once a month, the last Saturday of the month, they do like twice now.
Now we have twice.
Now there's twice. So it's just they keep adding and adding and adding. I wonder at what point they're going to run out of time in the week to be able to do these. So now they're doing 2 weekends. Is it Saturdays?
Yes.
So two Saturdays a month now they're doing longer hikes. And which is nice because a lot of people who can't go during the week get to go on these hikes. And traditionally they've been there's been a bigger attendance at the weekend hikes, the Saturday hikes. Plus they're longer, which a lot of people will find appealing. They like to go on a big, nice big long 10-mile hike or 12-mile hike or something like that.
Or 3 miles.
Or 3, yes. They do. So check it out if you're a hiker. I see a lot of the hiking and walking people in here, so you guys already know the program. You know where to check it out and what's coming up. But if you're interested in getting involved in that and just going on a hike and experiencing some of this scenery, musclepower.org, and it's on the calendar. Let's see, what else about hiking? That's Saturdays. So yeah. So they're averaging about 15 hikers per
Saturday, yeah.
Per Saturday,
15,
yeah, which is really great. So it's amazing. Our hike group, like I said, they do so much planning. They're actually, some of it's kind of bleeding over. So Debbie Lane, Joe Foster, they've actually reached out to our trail people, and well, I don't know if the trail people reached out to them or how that happened, but basically they're taking some of the organizational skills that they've used for the hiking group, and they're kind of guiding the trail group in the same direction. So we're getting really well organized. Potter's not going to be around forever. I think he's like, what, in his 70s now? But we're doing some basically some transition planning or some succession planning for our trail group as well, and the hikers have been instrumental in helping us out with that. And speaking of Potter, this is some pictures of our trails. Now, I know this is something that everybody's interested in, our hikers as well as mountain bikers and so forth. So I'm going to go over some numbers real quick. Over the calendar year of 2018, we had 118 volunteers work 1,692.5 hours doing trail maintenance, trail building, and so forth, which, when you assign a dollar value to the hour, is $42,562. Now, you might be asking, why is there a dollar amount attached to volunteer work, right? So the government gives you basically assigns a value to hours spent in volunteer work, right? That dollar amount in this case is $25 an hour, which is how we get the $42,562, right? That money, or that value, because there's not really any money involved with it, but that value we can use then to apply for grants that require a match. So a lot of times there's grants and they say, well, we'll give you X amount of dollars, but you have to come up with some of it on your own, right? And so this value from trail work, that can be used for grant matches, which is really nice. So it's really important for us, number one, to keep track of that. But number two, all of the hard work that people put on the trails, that goes to getting us grant money so that we can do more trails. So that's really nice. So for all of you who do, and there's a lot of volunteers here who have worked on trails, thank you very much. We all really appreciate your hard work, and we look forward to more people joining in and doing some trail work out there with us as well. So some of the things that our trail builders and trail maintainers have done this year, we've completed the Wild Horse Trail, which is just outside of Centennial Park on the east end of Carson. Awesome trail. If you haven't been out there, I highly recommend it. It's great for hiking. It's super awesome for riding, mountain bike hiking, and so it's a really cool trail. So that was completed in 2018. Secret Trail was also completed in 2018. That was completed earlier in the year, and that was actually part of the Carson City Off-Road mountain bike race that took place in June. So we finished that earlier in the year, and all the racers actually rode on that, which was nice. The VNT was expanded, so there was a VNT trail out on the north end of town. That's been expanded and connected over to Hobart Road. There's also been a foothill trail that was completed, that was cut in. Muscle Power did all the finishing work on both of those, the VNT and the foothill trail. Did all the finishing work, completed those up. Those are both kind of very close to one another up on the north end of town by the hospital in that area. Let's see what else. VNT. And the city also, and I alluded to this earlier, but the city's also expanded the freeway multi-use path. I mentioned the path if you start up in the north, the multi-use path comes south by Home Depot and ends up at the Boys and Girls Club right there. If you take, I think it's Lumpa Lane, you kind of jog over to Lumpa Lane and cross Highway 50 to the south, then it picks back up just on the other side of 50 and the freeway multi-use path continues on through the wetlands in that area right along the highway there, and then connects to the linear ditch trail, which is really key. It's not a very long piece of trail. It's a paved path, but the key feature about it is that it provides connectivity. It connects to another pathway, another freeway, another multi-use path that then you can then go basically all over Carson. So it's the city's really doing great things, and we're really excited about that as well. So trails. What else we've been working on? We began the permitting process along with the city for the Lincoln Bypass and the Capital to Tahoe trails. So the Capital to Tahoe trail, just so you know, that basically connects the Ash to Kings Trail further up the mountain, goes into the state park, and allows you to get onto the Tahoe Rim Trail. So basically, it provides a connection from the Ash to Kings to the Tahoe Rim Trail, which will be super awesome. So they're in the permitting process for that. So it's still a while off yet, but they're working on it. Began scouting the Kings Canyon to Clear Creek connection. So that'll be key. Once certain pieces of property are acquired along Clear Creek, we'll be able to connect the south end of the Ash to Kings Trail all the way to the Clear Creek Trail into so that'll be an amazing connection once that's complete. We're working with state lands and so forth on the purchasing. The city is on purchasing a piece of land, the parcel that's necessary for that. But let's see what else. Washoe State Park to Centennial Park connection. So there's going to be a trail that'll connect the Wild Horse Trail on Centennial Park over to Washoe Park. So right along the ridge line there, Duck Hill area, that area. So that'll be an awesome connection as well. And then the Ash Canyon to Secret Trail connector as well. So these are all in the early stages of planning, kind of scouting, kind of just figuring out how feasible they are and where we're going to go with these. So we're not sitting still. There's all kinds of work going on with regards to trails, and it's just continuing. It's an ongoing process. So Muscle Power works alongside the Eagle Valley Trails Committee. This is one of a big feather in the city's cap, and I guess kind of in our cap too. We updated the UPMP, which is the Unified Pathways Master Plan. For those of you who don't know, the Eagle Valley Trails Committee did a huge trail inventory of all the trails, both legal trail system trails as well as social trails that were in the area. And the result was that they updated the UPMP with a lot of this information. And as Greg mentioned earlier, the purchase of the Ham property was kind of a direct result of all the work that Muscle Power did along with EVTC on this trail inventory. And it was amazing. When the call went out for the public meeting, it was amazing. It was a packed room, and for those of you who've ever been to the public meetings at the community center, it was in the Sierra Room, and it was standing room only. All of the seats were filled. Everybody was standing along the walls in the back, out in the hallway. It was jam-packed full of people who all and Potter at one point got up and made a public comment and just kind of asked, how many people are here in support of acquiring the Ham property? And everybody, hundreds of people were all raised their hand. It was amazing.
It's like they want to flip the $10, I promise.
It was pretty moving to see, how many people were affected by this and how many people were really, really interested in making this happen. So the Board of Supervisors approved it, and as Greg mentioned, we acquired the Ham property, which was privately owned property, which a lot of our in Ash Canyon, where a lot of our trails existed. So had this sale gone forward to, say, a developer or something along those lines, we would have lost access to a lot of our trails. It would not be very easy to get to the Ash to Kings Trail, put it that way, because a lot of the trails that we ride on to get to the Ash to Kings Trail were on that private property, which now the city owns. So now we're on legal trails. We're able to map them. We're able to send trail crews out there to maintain those trails. We're able to put signs up. All of that stuff is now possible now that the city owns that property. So this picture up here in the top left, that's Wild Horse Trail. They're doing some rock work up there above Centennial Park. This picture here in the middle top, That's Scott Mykrantz, one of our crew leaders, and we're working on Secret Trail at that one. And you can't really tell from the picture, but that's a pretty good elevation because you've got a view of all the Eagle Valley through there, which is really nice. I think this one over here is again Secret Trail on the top corner there. This was just a beautiful sunset view. That's Secret Trail. You can't really tell. It doesn't show up too well, but there's some flags along the trail line right here, and beautiful sunset. Larry, remind me, the middle one on the bottom, was that Secret Trail? Or?
That is Secret Trail.
That is Secret Trail, so that was a work day. Obviously, I had a lot of tools out. And then when I was working with the pictures, I renamed this picture Trail Studs. Jeff Potter and Ollie, one of our crew leaders, there. That was, I believe that was in June when they were working on the Foothill Trail. It was National Trails Day. And the mayor, a couple of our city supervisors all came out for that work day as well and helped build the Foothill Trail, which was really awesome. So it's cool to see all the involvement that comes in when it comes to trail work. So kind of moving along, this is, I think, one of the busiest times of the year for us is May, National Bike Month. We try to pack in probably like a whole year's worth of activity into 30 days. And it's just crazy, it's just gangbusters. So I'm going to try to go through this chronologically if I can. First thing, early in the month, the Board of Supervisors met and they declared they officially declared May Bike Month in Carson City. And not that that does anything for us, but it's kind of nice, you know, the mayor, the Board of Supervisors, they give us a little certificate and, you know, everybody says, hey, congratulations, you did good stuff, blah, 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 which is nice. They do recognize, and by the way, Mayor Crow is one of our biggest supporters. He's a member, and then probably the first bike-related event that actually happens is early in the month. Dennis Coyne, who owns Bike Habitat, puts on the Tour of Carson, which Muscle Power partners with him, and we help put that on, as well as the Senator Cycling Team. So this year was his 11th anniversary. That's Dennis and his wife Viola. They cater. The ride is catered by San Marcos. So the Senator Cycling Team right there is serving enchiladas and all kinds of good food from San Marcos Grill. And then he's right here, Isaac Harrison, even helped with clean up on his unicycle. So it was just awesome. And of course the kids are all, the high school mountain bike team, the Senator Cycling Team, we're all representing in their blue plaid. It was really cool. Some other things that go on. Women's mountain bike ride starts up in May, and it kind of goes on all summer, but May is kind of when it really kicks off. That's Haley, another Senator Cycling Team member, and her mom took that picture, and I was like, she posted it up on Instagram, and I was like, that's a great picture, can I use that? And she's like, sure. So I grabbed that picture. Let's see, the celebrity ride. That's a kind of a fun ride. We get the mayor and a couple of, I think actually everybody on the Board of Supervisors was in it last year except for Lori Bagwell. So we had the Board of Supervisors, we had the mayor, we had the sheriff, he's on there. We had business owners. It was just really cool. And we do a little short ride around the West End, stop in front of the governor's mansion, take pictures, that kind of stuff. It's just kind of a dog and pony show, but it's fun to get everybody out there, community leaders out there, and get them on bikes and get them riding around town and talk bikes with them. It's fun, gets them thinking about, bike issues and how that applies to everybody in the area. The West Side Cruiser Ride, that's a fun ride. Again, another one that takes place over here on the West End. We take off from right here at BAC, and it's kind of like a costume theme, not necessarily a theme, but costume ride. Just a fun ride. There's usually somebody pulling a trailer with playing music, blasting music out. It's just good times. It's just a lot of fun. So Another one we do is up in this top corner here, the full moon night ride, or the nighttime mountain bike ride is kind of a fun ride. That's a partnership with the Bike Smith here in town, the bike shop on South Carson Street. They kind of sponsor that and put it on, and we ride up into Ash Canyon. It's a mountain bike ride. Be kind of later in the evening and try to ride back down with the headlights, or the lights on the bikes and the helmets and so forth, so you can see on the way back down. It's a lot of fun night ride. This year, we did this picture right here. Now, this picture is not from 2018. It's actually from 2017, I believe. But it's the Ride of Silence. So most of the events that we do in May are pretty fun, upbeat, kind of whimsical things, whatever. But this was kind of a sobering, more of a somber event. The Ride of Silence, and this year we expanded it to include the Walk of Silence as well. It's an event to recognize and commemorate cyclists and pedestrians, in this case, who have been killed or injured using the roads throughout the area. So it is it's an 8-mile ride. I think ours is about 8 miles, but it's done in complete silence. So we wear black armbands. We have a deputy escort, and we ride the route in complete and utter silence. And it's a very eerie feeling if you've ever been on, because cycling with a big group is really a social activity, and so you want to talk to people, you want to engage with people, whatever. But in this case, you're not doing that. It's just very quiet and it's very eerie, and we ride very slow on purpose. It's meant to kind of mimic a funeral procession, and so it's just. It's a good thing. I mean, it's important to me because, number one, it raises awareness to other road users, people who are in their automobiles, let them know, hey, there's cyclists out there, be careful. You don't want to, none of us want to end up being a statistic. And, so that's the Ride of Silence. Like I said, again, the Walk of Silence was another thing we did this year, kind of expanded that. We had walkers who walked a route and representing the pedestrians who had been killed or injured on the roads as well. So then we move into, and actually a lot of this stuff is overlapping. It's all happening at the same time, which is a nightmare for logistics when you're trying to do things. But the Bike to Work Week, the Commuter Challenge takes place. It's a whole week. Right in the middle of May, and there's one of the teams that participated this last year, Carson City Orthodontics team. Just a lot of fun. Now that particular, I have some statistics about the Bike to Work Week Commuter Challenge, because this is something we like to bring up in front of the Board of Supervisors as well. So this year we had the participants rode a total of 1,841 miles. Now, we have to do some averaging, because we don't know what kind of cars people normally drive, but we figure out the CO2 offset for the miles ridden. It comes out, in this case, to 974.16 pounds. So almost a half a ton of carbon was saved by riding our bikes that week. And I know it was actually more than that, because there's a lot of people who rode and didn't participate in the competition. But this is just people who were in the competition. We saved almost a half a ton of carbon from being released into the atmosphere, which is awesome. A nice thing to see. So at the end of the Bike to Work Week competition, we have our biking music. We had our biking music festival this year, which was really a lot of fun. Those of you who've been there, it's a huge party. We had it at McFadden Plaza this year, and it was great. We took over McFadden Plaza. It was awesome. We had a band playing on the stage, Hickory Switch. We had 2 beer tents this year. It was great. We had Shoe Tree. We had the Fox Brew Pub. It was just awesome. We had bike games going on right there. That's Jason Gardner throwing a newspaper, trying to get into that little barrel right there. I don't think he made it on that shot, but I can't believe it. That's actually a picture I took with my cell phone. So probably the best picture I ever took. I should retire now. But anyway, so we use that for promoting it this year. Just a lot of fun. Bike Habitat donates, well, I shouldn't say donates, they give us 2 bikes at cost, so there's a little bit of cost involved, but Dennis isn't making any money on it. So we did the bike raffle. That's always a big draw. A lot of people buy hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of raffle tickets to win those bikes. So it's just a good time. Live music, bike games, tricycle races, the newspaper boy toss, the slow ride challenge, the slow race or whatever. See whoever is last across the finish line wins. So it's hard to do to stay on the bike without putting your foot down. So just Bike Month is just a crazy, crazy month. A lot of planning, a lot of work, a lot of volunteer hours from everybody involved. But it's a lot of fun too. So that's Bike Month in a nutshell. I think, did I cover everything? Oh, and so this picture right here is during the Bike Music Festival. This is a picture of Jeff Potter underneath the poster of Jeff Potter. Couldn't pass that one up. Yeah, I can't really tell, but maybe we'll get a better picture next year. All right, so let's move on. Trash mobs. All right. Trash mobs is another event that we do. We take care of cleaning up a lot of the paths, walkways, and so forth, cycling paths here around town, and we try to keep things clean so that people can enjoy walking and cycling without having to deal with a bunch of trash. That's a couch. This is on the east side of Carson River. Kind of near. That's a couch that we picked up. We picked up appliances, televisions, car batteries, all kinds of crazy stuff. I think it was like just after the Super Bowl one year, we had like a big screen TV, a recliner, and it was just like I think they got rid of it after the Super Bowl, so they threw it out by the river. Anyhow. This year, let's see, we've got some figures for you as far as trash, but we had 10 trash mobs. We covered 6 different locations. East Silver Saddle Ranch, the Carson City Freeway multi-use path, that's over by the area over by Home Depot and Walmart. There's a fence right along, and the wind just blows all of the trash out of the Walmart and out of the Home Depot parking lot, and it all collects along the fence right there, right along the multi-use path. So we could have a trash mob there probably once a week, and we'd still have plenty of new trash to pick up. So that's unfortunate, but that's one of the things that we do. So we picked up there, cleaned up there along the freeway multi-use path, Carson River Park, the Folston Wetlands, Horse Creek Ranch, which is kind of nice. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second. And the Carson City disc golf course, new disc golf course that's going on east end of town, up by the dump out there on the hill. So there were a few milestones that occurred throughout the year. April, Earth Day happens in April every year, and Muscle Power teamed up with the city, and we did a special trash mob on Earth Day. So that was fun. Local Girl Scout troop. So it turns out kids don't like using big, giant, clown-sized gloves to pick up trash. I don't know why, but the Girl Scout troop, the local Girl Scout troop, took it upon themselves to raise some money, and they made a donation and bought kid-sized gloves for the trash mob. So now we have kids' gloves as well. So we do have a lot of kids that show up along with their parents. It's really awesome to see parents kind of instilling that sense of community responsibility in their kids. So it's always fun to see them come to the trash mobs and help clean up. So now they have gloves that they can wear. They don't have to wear the big clown gloves that fit us big guys. We removed invasive weeds at Horse Creek Ranch in June. So this has been kind of an annual event. Horse Creek Ranch is an easement that the city owns. It's surrounded by private property, so you can't just walk up there and go visit it. because it's on Michael Fagan's property and it's all gated off and so forth. But once a year, we partner up with Parks Rec and Open Space. We coordinate with the property owner, and we come out and we remove invasive weeds, noxious weeds, the bull thistle that grows in the area. And if you don't get rid of it, it starts taking over. So it's really important that we try to make sure that we get rid of those. So that's kind of, and it's nice. It's a beautiful, I mean, like you've seen some of the views and some of the pictures that we have, some scenic views. This piece of property is probably like top 5 views in the area. It's just amazing when you're up there. You see all of the Carson Valley into Douglas County and so forth. See all of in that direction. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So that happened this year in June, and then Donna, bless her heart, Donna Emerson went through quite a bit of obstacles, but she was able to finally secure a 1-year permit from NDOT so that we can access the areas. Again, I keep referring to the multi-use path near Home Depot, but that section from Home Depot all the way down to the Boys and Girls Club, there's a fence along the east side of the path, and then you've got a few yards of soil, and then there's the sound wall to the freeway right there. That section of soil in between the fence and the sound wall gets a ton of trash from the freeway, a ton of it. But we don't have any way to get in there. It's always been locked up, and Donna has been banging her head against the wall, but finally was successful. We got a 1-year permit to get access to that area, and now the trash mobs can keep that clean as well. So good on you, Donna. Thank you.
I also got it for the wetlands.
Nice. Good. So altogether, there were 72 volunteer hours for the trash mobs this year, and they cleared out 1,189 pounds of trash. So over a half ton, well over a half ton of trash was removed over the calendar year of 2018 by the trash mobs. So awesome job. All right, moving on. We've got Bike Valet, which is another fun thing that we do. So that first picture there is not actually the Bike Valet, but it is at the farmer's market. That's the bike library, or the pedal library, the Carson City Library purchased a bike trailer and a bike, and then Muscle Powered has been kind of the volunteer force that helps them get to the farmer's market every week, sets it up and staffs it as well. And it's just a really neat thing that the library has done. So I wanted to include that in when we're talking about the farmer's market. There's a couple of pictures of the Bike Valet. Our new pop-up tent, our new easy up tent, which is kind of nice. We had a plain white one before. Now we've got a real nice, pretty one that's got our website on it and our colors and so forth. So it's kind of nice. We were displaying that all over the place. The farmers market. Anytime we could, anytime we get an excuse to put up our booth, we put that up. So that was a new acquisition this year as well. So. A lot of fun. So the Bike Valet, it's a 16-week season. It starts in June, the first weekend in June, goes all the way through September, the end of September. So 16 weeks we got volunteers staffing that thing. After expenses and so forth, it generated some money for us as well, $1,217 net revenue. Came out of that from donations. A lot of that was memberships, tips for trails, so forth. So just an awesome thing. And I don't think you can put a dollar value on what the Bike Valet does. It's really like a kind of our face to the public. A lot of people come to, and I'm amazed that when this happens, but a lot of people come and they don't know, they've never even heard of Muscle Power before. So it gives us a chance to do a lot of outreach, talk about the organization. People pick up our trail maps there, and it's just it's a good thing all the way around. I think it's good for us. You know, it's like I said, it's a bit of a revenue generator. But you know, we get memberships there. We get people interested in the outdoors there, in the organization. It's just really cool to be there, and it's a hub of activity. Tons of people are at the farmers market every week. So over 300 volunteer hours went into planning. There's a lot of planning that goes into this, coordinating who's going to be there, the schedule, who's going to cover it, who's going to be the team lead, training on, running an iPad so that we can, process memberships and process donations and so forth using electronically. So it's just a lot of work that goes into it, but really appreciate the work that our Bike LA volunteers do. It's awesome. All right, moving on. Now, this is not a Muscle Powered event, but Muscle Powered is involved in the Carson City Off-Road. And this is another crazy one. This happens the Father's Day weekend in June. So if you can picture, we just finished, actually in May, while all the craziness is going on during Bike Month. That's when a lot of things are gearing up for the Carson City Off-Road. So we're involved with finishing up trails. Like in this year, we finished up the Secret Trail in time for the event. A lot of trail work, maintenance goes on, just prepping the trails for the hundreds and hundreds of riders that are going to be riding on them. This year we had 900 registered riders. So as you can imagine, that puts a little stress on the trails. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. Fortunately, we've got a great trail coordinator who designs the trails so that they're sustainable. It's not just digging a path. There's a lot of actual design work that goes into trails to make sure that they stay in good shape. So when winter weather hits, they're not all eroded and they're not washed away. Or when we get 900 riders riding across them in one weekend, they're not all tore up and they're not destroyed. So thank you, Jeff, for all of the work that goes into this, and all of our trail crews, all of the crew leaders that are involved in the design of our sustainable trails. It's just amazing. So this little group right here, Don is in this picture, and there's some other. These are volunteers that man the Spooner Aid Station at the top of the hill. Now, for those of you who are familiar, yes, these girls were awesome, by the way. For those of you who are familiar with the course, the Spooner Aid Station is kind of the first aid station that the climbers hit, or the riders hit after that big, long climb they start downtown Carson City, go up Kings Canyon Road, continue all the way up till they hit Spooner Lake. That's a lot of climbing. That's a ton of climbing. And then you still have to go up to Marlette, so there's still more to go. So the riders are obviously already sore and tired by the time they hit these ladies here. And I'm sure they were probably cranky as well. So. But the nice thing about that is these ladies manned the aid station not just one day, not 2 days, all 3 days of the event, which, by the way, got Muscle Powered a donation because Epic Rides said, look, if you can get one organization to man an aid station all 3 days, we'll make a $400 donation to whatever charity or nonprofit that they wish to make that donation to. So Muscle Powered, thanks to these volunteers, Muscle Powered got a donation from Epic Rides. So that was awesome. Thank you very much. The real reason I put that in there is because the guy I'm talking to right there, you can't tell, but his hat says Oz Trails on it. That's the the event coordinator from Bentonville, Arkansas. So at the time this picture was taken in June, Epic Rides had announced that they were going to add a new event to the off-road series, which was going to take place in Bentonville, Arkansas, the Oz Trail off-road race. So he's the local liaison for Epic Rides. He's the event coordinator for the Oz Trail. So he came to our event and to see how we ran it, how Epic Rides, how it worked in Carson City, what works good, what doesn't work good, blah, blah, blah. And then took that information and went to Bentonville, and they had a very successful first Oz Trails off-road race this year in October. So that's why I threw that in there. I thought it was kind of neat that he came out to Carson City to see what we were doing. This is another example of the Cinder cycling team. You see a lot of blue plaid right there. Those are riders they're in the chute getting ready to take off. I believe that's the 15-mile race, just based on the age group that I'm seeing in the riders, but you never know, that could be 35, I don't know. But again, just just a really good representation of how our Senator cycling team is, they're just really involved, and so it's really cool. The Clunker Crit, this is Jason Gardner on his penny farthing. The Clunker Crit is just a fun race that Epic Rides puts on for the locals to participate in, so we all locals got to ride their bikes around town and race, and Jason was on his penny farthing, which was pretty awesome. You can't tell from this picture, but that is his dog in a pouch. Yeah, he's got his little dog, yeah, Moxie, thank you. Moxie's in a messenger bag on his back right there, so kind of neat. So I'm going to skip over these pictures and come back to them in a minute. This was just fun. If any of you got a chance to go down, be downtown and see March 4th, the band, it was the most entertained I have ever been in my life. It was just amazing. The show that band puts on, it was incredible. And the fact that Epic was able to pull that off was pretty impressive. So great band, great music, and an absolutely incredible show. This is, some people have, they talk about the legend of Sasquatch. We have basically the legend of the Noodle Monster that showed up on the trails this year and chased riders down the trails.
Only the pros.
Only the pros. Okay. Chase the pros. Literally chase them. There's video footage of the Noodle Monster chasing the pros down the trail, and so just a kind of little friendly encouragement to help them along the trail. So I heard Elsa Harrison might know of the Noodle Monster. I'm not sure. She might. But it's kind of interesting. So now back to these two photos that I skipped over. This is pretty awesome. What and I think kind of clever on Epic Rides' part. So they want to support the local trail organizations, right? That build and maintain all the trails that they hold their races on. So the first year they just donated money to us, right? The first in 2016, the first year that we had the Carson City Off-Road, they gave us buckets of money, which was kind of nice. Was pretty awesome, but they thought, wow, that's kind of expensive, that's money out of their pocket. So they thought, well, how can we still get money to these trail organizations in our host cities and not have it really cost us that much? So what they did was they got their sponsors to donate very expensive mountain bikes. This year we had 4 mountain bikes. All 4 of them were over $6,000 a piece. So these are not cheap mountain bikes. These are like high-end professional type mountain, like all the best components, all of the best, carbon fiber frames, just incredible pieces of machinery. So we had 4 of these bikes. They raffled off, and they start very. In fact, they'll probably be starting pretty soon here for this year's Hail the Trail promotion. The tickets are $5 a piece, and gives you a chance to win one of these mountain bikes. It's pretty cool. This picture right here, that's Todd Sada, who's the president of Epic Rides. This is our booth at Interbike, and we had actually Pivot, who is a bike manufacturer, was one of the vendors at Interbike. So they actually brought the bike that was being raffled off. That's the bike, that model of bike, I should say, because you can get whatever size you need. But that was the model of bike that was being raffled off. So we coordinated with Pivot, and we had it on display in the muscle car booth at Interbike. And Todd stopped by. Now this was in September when Interbike was going on. As soon as, I think right after I took this picture, Todd jumped on a plane and went out to Bentonville, Arkansas, because they were about to have the Oz Trail race out there in October. So he went straight from Interbike out to Bentonville for that, but not before we stopped by to see how we were doing, especially. And you would think, oh, Interbike, why is Muscle Power, a little local nonprofit, setting up an international bike vendor expo out of town, where this is in Reno. Really, we weren't there to get members. We were really there to try to promote the Hail the Trail. We did get a lot of bites on the Hail the Trail raffle. A lot of people bought raffle tickets, which was awesome. So we did benefit from that. And of course, Interbike's probably not going to be around. They're not around next year, so probably I don't know if they'll be around anymore after that. We'll have to see. All right, going on. I wanted to talk a little bit about an effort that has taken place within our organization. Donna Emberson has kind of headed up this effort to recreate the Virginia and Truckee railroads into trails, the old rail beds into trails. And she very quickly recruited Juan Guzman, which I think was pretty smart of her. Juan's got a lot of experience in this area, he knows a lot of people, and he's a big influencer. So between the two of them, they've really started to get some traction. It's not just an idea anymore now. Now they've got people coming to meetings, and they've brought over 25 stakeholders together. They're looking at, let's see, where am I at? VNT, 25 stakeholders. They were getting very enthusiastic support from everybody involved so far. We're really looking forward to this. They made a presentation at this year's at the Eastern Sierra Trail Summit. And this is one of the slides from Donna's presentation. I just included it because I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what all the Virginia and Truckee Railroad Trail is supposed to do. Basically recreate the historic railway as trails, obviously, as I mentioned. Providing all kinds of hiking, biking opportunities, questions. So it's going to be multi-use trails. And this is kind of impressive. Connects Carson, Douglas, Lyons, Story, and Washoe counties. This is huge. It'll be huge. It'll run from Reno through Carson, down into Douglas County. There'll be an arm that will take off from Carson City, go up to VC. It's amazing. This is a big project, well beyond the scope of Muscle Power's purview. But right now, the Virginia Truckee Railroad Trail is kind of operating under the umbrella of Muscle Power. Eventually, I think Donna's looking at kind of branching this out into its own organization, its own nonprofit. That's still yet to pan out, but I'm looking forward. A lot of work took place this year on this effort, and really looking forward to seeing this come to fruition. So it's going to be a super awesome project. All right, so I also wanted to look at some of the other things that we do, and there's just an amazing amount of projects that Muscle Power is involved with. We're not just busy in the summer, with trails. We're busy all year round. So the Sierra Prospect Ride, the Peter Cetina Sierra Prospect Ride, I never knew this. He's been here 2 years now, and Muscle Power is just, we're just kind of involved in the fringes of this ride. But Peter Cetina is a professional road bike racer, and he puts on this ride once a year. We hosted the aid station at Long Ranch Park when all the riders come through. Muscle Power's out there at the aid station, basically giving them some nutrition, some hydration, and so forth. Give them, and they take a little break there, and then they take off again and keep on riding. But what Peter Cetina did is really interesting. In 2015, he was in a race in Spain, a Tour of Basque Country, and he was in a group of riders. He said, and I didn't know this until just recently, this whole experience, why this race even exists. He was injured, but the group opens up. He didn't know why the group opened up, but next thing you know, he was on the ground. He hit a post. The group opened up to avoid the post. He was not able to get around it in time, and just shattered the bones in his leg. He hit the ground, broke several ribs just from the impact of hitting the ground. He tried to stand back up, according to his account of it. Tried to stand back up, as his leg just wouldn't support him, and it was just shattered. There's video of the X-rays, and it was the pins and so forth that were in his leg. It was just incredible that the guy can even walk. But everybody thought his career was over at that point because his leg he was basically hamburger held by a sack of skin. It was really bad. Anyway, to make a long story short, he recovers, and now he puts on this ride every year. He's back to racing professionally now. It was an incredible story about his recovery. But he puts on this ride as a charity event to raise money for athletes who've had life-changing injuries. And so it's really cool to be involved with this guy and this event that he puts on every year. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, the guy never even talks about it. I met him, talked to him. He never mentions anything about it. I had to go and dig and do research on it to find out about it. Anyway, bike maintenance stand, that's another cool thing that we got this year. Bike maintenance stand right out in front of City Hall on South Carson Street there is a bike maintenance stand. And you can see that little portion right there, you can hook your bike on there. There's all kinds of tools attached to these cables here. You can use all kinds of tools. There's an air pump there, works with both Schrader and press the valves. It's awesome. It's just really cool. The story behind this, we've been Muscle Power has been kicking around the idea of putting one of these in for years, actually. Donna brought it up at a board meeting several years ago. We all thought it was a great idea. Never really got much traction. Then a couple of years later, Shane Trotter is on the board. He brings it up again. He does some research, finds out how much it costs, gets the board to approve it, and then he resigns from the board, and then the whole project just kind of lost traction again. And then all of a sudden, Carson City gets a new transportation manager at Public Works. Lucia Maloney comes on board, and I'm not sure what all conversations took place at the office, but at some point, Lucia comes to us and says, hey, heard you guys were thinking about putting a bike maintenance stand in. You still want to do that? So she came and pitched the idea that the city wants to basically would ask Muscle Power to go ahead and buy the first one. And then they're looking at use, how much use it gets, and they're looking at getting grants for putting more of these in, especially with the new project that's going in the south end of town. There are good opportunities to put some more of these in. So that's the deal with the bike maintenance stand. We set up, like I said earlier, we just looked for any excuse to put a booth anywhere. We were at the Tour de Tahoe Expo at South Lake. Unbelievably, we have members from Sacramento and Muscle Power. I can't believe it. We had several people buy memberships there. I don't know if it's because we were raffling off backpacks or not with every new membership. That probably had something to do with it. Again, I already beat Interbike to death, but it came and went. Brain Safety Day, that was kind of a little fun event. NDOT, Safe Routes to School, the Head Injury Association of Northern Nevada, which I've never heard of before, and the Children's Museum. So this is out on Ann Street, right just north of the Children's Museum, that little street that they closed off. They gave out helmets, they fitted helmets on children. They set up a little track for them to use their, these were little kids, like they're on striders and little scooters and tricycles and stuff, but they got all fit with helmets, and we were just there, we were just set up, handing out pamphlets and maps and so forth, a lot of fun. National Night Out, that's a huge event, I can't believe how big that is, but there's Sheriff Furlong modeling one of the latest bike helmet out on the market grounds. and Ray Freeman just having fun. It was a huge event. We fitted 120 kids with bike helmets, and we were out of helmets at that point. We ran out. So that was really awesome. Fun, really fun night there. Every year we're in the Nevada Day Parade, and that is a lot of fun. Our hikers, our bikers, everybody's out there. Eastern Sierra Trail Summit, this year Muscle Power was a platinum sponsor of the Trail Summit, which is awesome. This is obviously a picture with my ugly mug in it, but great. They gave everybody, they did these things that kind of simulate a TED Talk, but you only get 5 minutes, right? So Greg had 5 minutes to do his little TED Talk. And he shared a portion of that with Muscle Power and gave us a chance to talk about the relationship that we have with the city. And of course, I ate up all this time. But no, it was that's fun. There's trail people from all over the region, all over Nevada, California. They all come to this event here in Carson, which is a lot of fun. This year in December, it was announced that Carson City was awarded the bronze level bicycle friendly community again. It's basically renewing our bronze level bicycle friendly community status with the League of American Bicyclists. Muscle Power did a lot of work on this actually, along with the city. I was surprised to learn they didn't have some of the statistics that they needed, and so Muscle Power went out and actually measured the distance of bike lanes that we have, the number of miles of bike lanes that we have, and they want numbers like how many bike lanes do you have that in roads that are 25 miles an hour or less? How many miles of bike lanes do you have, and 35 miles an hour or less, 35 miles an hour or over, and how many bicycle parking facilities do you have, et cetera, et cetera. Just an incredible amount of data that they look for in these applications. And Muscle Power did a lot of work on that to help get that application ready and submitted, and so we're very proud of the fact that Carson City is bronze level bike friendly. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so now this is another project that is not a Muscle Power project, but this made me think, well, what if Muscle Power never existed? Would this project be going on? I don't know. Might not. This is just super exciting. And we're kind of involved in the fringes, obviously being influential, talking about this with our partners in this Public Works. But for those of you who are not aware, they're going to be basically redoing South Carson Street from 5th Street all the way south to the Spooner Junction, more or less. Not quite the Spooner Junction, just a little bit north of that. But for all practical intents and purposes, that entire section of South Carson Street is going from 3 lanes each direction to 2 lanes in each direction, and a center turn lane. They're getting rid of a lot of the medians, so there's a center turn lane in that. And the big thing that really floats my boat is there is a cycle track that's being added, so protected bike lane that's physically separated from traffic. Not a bike lane in the lane with sharing of the car lane, although there will be one on the southbound side. But on the northbound side, where traffic is heading north on this section, there'll be protected bike lane or cycle track or multi-use path, if you will. So that'll be awesome. There's the roundabout at Stewart, at Carson and Stewart, where Stewart Street hits Carson, and that's kind of where the protected bike path starts, and then goes south all the way to Appian or where Snyder, basically where Snyder comes and hits Carson Street in that area. And then you have to jog across the street, get on NDOT's bike path. But anyway, just really, really good things happen. This came as a direct result of the Carson City Complete Streets policy that Carson adapted in 2014. The Complete Streets project it's a policy that basically says, hey, when you build new roads, when new construction projects come up, you have to look at all road users, not just cars. So you have to look at bicyclists, you have to look at pedestrians, you have to look at buses, you have to look at the elderly, you have to look at the handicapped, you have to look at all of these things, take all of these issues into account when you design the road and you design the safety features and so forth. So again, like I said, we're getting a road diet, 3 lanes each direction down to 2 lanes each direction, and the speed limit is being reduced from 45 to 35, and in the area where it's 35 down to 25. So a 10-mile-an-hour speed reduction throughout the entire corridor of the project, which is good, really good when it comes to bicycle and pedestrian interests. So we're really excited about this project. Again, this is not my slide. This is Public Works slide, but I kind of borrowed from them. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much 2018. Things that I want to look forward to in 2019. So that last slide that we were just talking about, the South Carson Street project, groundbreaking is supposed to start in late 2019, so late this year. As a matter of fact, Carson City received a Tiger grant. I think it's a $7.5 million grant for this project. One of the stipulations of the grant was that construction has to start in 2019. So sometime before the end of the year, we'll have the groundbreaking for that project. The 4th annual Carson City Off-Road, that's coming up in June. The Cap to Tahoe connector, the Lincoln Bypass, those are 2 projects that I talked about when I was mentioning the trails. Those are in the permitting process, and we're looking forward to those projects getting off the ground. The V&T Railroad Trail project, Donna's baby, and the installation of custom bike tracks. Now this is a project, that's the last bullet point, this is a project that's been going on for years. And I feel for Jeff Potter because he's been handling this thing. But we're There's light at the end of the tunnel now. We've got the order placed with the vendor who's making these, so it won't be long. You'll see some really cool custom bike racks going in around town, and that's going to be amazing. A lot, like I said, I feel sorry for Jeff because there's been all kinds of obstacles. There's been all kinds of issues that we've had to deal with and iron out along the line with this thing, but it's finally coming to fruition. So that's hopefully next year when I'm giving this annual report, I don't put everybody to sleep, and I'll be able to report that we have those bike racks. So that is our annual report. And now on to some other business. So one of the things we do besides that I have to do, as outlined by our bylaws, besides giving the annual report every year, is we have our election of board members. So here's how it works. Everybody here who is a current member, so everybody here whose dues are paid up, you get to vote on who's going to be on our board. Now we've done some legwork, and we have some candidates who have expressed an interest, and so we're planning to present these candidates to you. We have a few people. So serving as a board member is a 2-year commitment. A couple of people, their 2-year term has come up, and they have decided to stay on. So those people are up for re-election. We have 3 people who are leaving the board this year. Their 2-year commitment is up, and they're leaving the board. Just happens. It's just the cycle of life. People come and then people go for whatever reason. So we currently sit, as it is right now, our board of directors currently has 11 members. We have, like I said, 3 people who are leaving the board. So that brings us down to 8. And we have 2 new members who who are prospective candidates at this point, provided you all vote them in. They'll be on the board if that happens. And then we have, I think, 3 other board members whose terms have expired and they're renewing. So Donna Emerson, Debbie Lane, and Juan Guzman are all going to be renewing their commitment to stay on the board for another 2 years. So, the two new guys, and they are both men, who expressed an interest in participating on the board. Mike Suter and Peter Dunges, both. I've met with both of them. They're both involved in the community. They both already started. Mike Suter has already been coming to some of our board meetings. Pete as well. He's really involved with the hiking group. So we're excited for both of these new additions, as well as the members who are going to be or who have expressed an interest in renewing their membership. So, with that being said, this is a member meeting. So everybody here who's members, like I said, you're eligible to vote. Anybody can make a motion. I would like to, at this point, entertain a motion to elect the president candidates. And once that motion has been made and seconded, we'll open it up to votes for all of the members present. So moved. So the motion is to basically elect the candidates, Mike Suter, Peter Dungeness, both new members to the board, and then re-elect Donna Emerson, Debbie Lane, and Juan Guzman. Do I have a second for the motion? Seconded. All right. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. The motion carries. Thank you. Yes.
Does anybody else want to volunteer for the board?
Is there any other volunteer? Anybody who would like to volunteer?
Andy, would you like to be on the board?
All right. I might have done this out of order. This is the first time I've done an annual meeting, so apologize if I'm not following all of the proper procedures. But now we have to move on to another piece of business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to officially close the membership meeting. Do I have a motion to close the member meeting? We have a motion to close the membership meeting. And a second. Membership meeting is now closed. Now we're opening up a board of directors meeting. So So those of you who have just been elected to the board of directors and other board members who are present, we need to elect our officers. So we have a vacancy for the vice president seat, and we have a vacancy for the secretary seat. Those two seats are vacant. Chaz McQuarrie has stepped down from the board, and now we need to elect a vice president, and we need to elect a secretary. Two candidates that we've approached and have expressed an interest in participating on the officers. Juan Guzman is our candidate for vice president, and Donna Emerson is our candidate for secretary. So those of you who are board members, is there anybody else before we go any further? Is there anybody else that has an interest? Any other board members that have an interest in pursuing either one of those seats, vice president or secretary? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to elect the two new officers, vice president and secretary. Do I have a board member interested in making that motion? Oh, now I got the mic. I need a board member to make that motion. Debbie, and a second. Thank you, Laura, for making the second. All right. All in favor of electing Juan Guzman as vice president and Donna Emerson as secretary, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. We have our new officers.